What's up guys, Tuber Tutorials here, and haven't been making any new videos in a while. I've been on vacation quite a lot. It's summer, and I've been on vacations for the past 2 months now, and it's getting close to school time, so I'm back here at home, ready to go and ready to do my thing, so to speak. Well, anyway, in this video, I did mention in one of my videos that I'm going to be doing some photography tutorials. And this is actually going to be my first one, and this is going to be telling you about shutter speed. Now, I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube that explains shutter speed, but I believe those videos are too complex for beginners. You can't explain, you can't explain things in a complex way for beginners. They won't really understand it. So I'm going to try and put it in the simplest way that I possibly can, so that if you're new to photography, and not just photography but just DSLR, because this is like a DSLR type thing, for you to know how to use things from your DSLR to get the image that you want. So I'm going to try and explain shutter speed in the simplest way ever. If my audio sounds a little weird, please excuse it. I'm not using my Snowball mic. I don't know why I'm not using it, actually. I should have used it, but excuse the audio quality, but I hope it sounds fine. I won't know until I test it. But shutter speed. So to begin with, let me show you what your shutter looks like, because a lot of newcomers don't know what their shutter is. So if I take off the cap off the lens front, oops. Now you see this flap. I know you guys can see. You see this flap right here. Let me get the light in. Right, you see this little black thing right here? This little thing right here? That's your shutter, and behind it is the mirror. The mirror is what, seals the image. So when this flap opens up, like it's open right now, but when it opens and closes, that is your shutter speed. That's actually your shutter speed right there. Now the speed of this little flap right here determines how fast you set your shutter speed. So if your shutter speed is like at 1/800th of a second, the flap is going to be like flap flap, like flap flap. That's like fast. It's going to like flap flap. That's a weird effect, but that's basically how fast it's going to be, like that up, just like that. And if your shutter goes down to about 1/8 of a second, it's going to be like flap flap, like flap flap. And if you bring it all the way down to 20th of a second, it's going to open up and it's going to wait. It's going to actually, camera's going to wait 20 seconds, because that's what you say. You say 20th of a second. So it's going to wait 20 seconds and then it's going to close. That's like an extremely low shutter speed. Now, the only time you want a shutter speed that low is if you want to have a dramatic effect. If you want to have some kind of effect where, like, let's say for example a waterfall. You want to take a picture of a waterfall, but you want the water to look blurred out in that motion blur type thing. Then you set your shutter speed to something that slow so you can have that effect. But if you want to capture sports and things that's moving fast, like your dog playing or something, you want to have a very fast shutter speed. And your shutter speed also determines how many light you let in. So if your shutter speed is fast, less light is going to come in, because that flap is going to open up pretty fast. And then whatever light comes in is going to bounce in the mirror, and then it's going to flap. If your shutter speed is slow, like 20th of a second, the shutter is going to open up. And within that 20 seconds, all that light is going to be beaming in for that 20th second. And then when the 20 second is up, it's going to close. So your picture is going to be very, very blown out. It's going to be very overexposed. Now, I'm not going to go into exposure, but your shutter speed also determines your exposure, but that's a whole nother video. This is just about shutter speed. So fast shutter speed is mainly for more action stuff. Slow shutter speed is when you want to do like a photo shoot or something, where you want to capture a good image with a slow shutter speed. Now, enough talking about it. Let me actually let you hear how it sounds like. Let me turn on my camera. I'm using the Canon Rebel EOS XS. Love this camera. And okay, so I'm using a Canon. If you're using a Nikon, it probably is going to be the same position on the screen, but my shutter speed is right here at the top. You see right now I'm shooting at 1/320th of a second. So my turn dial is right here. Your turn dial may be here for Nikon, or it may not even be a turn dial, but mine is right here. So I'm gonna boost the shutter speed up to, let's see, 1/800. Now, if your shutter speed is going into the 1000 is like when you're shooting sports. Like this fast, like my camera stops at 1/4000. This is when you want to shoot a very quick action scene. So a normal photographer will probably shoot max 1/400 or 500, but very rarely you see someone go up to 1/800 unless you're doing a creative shot. So I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna put this on single shooting. Now let me let you hear how fast 1/800 of a second is. Just listen. See, now that flap right there, that's the shutter open and closing. Now you can't tell because it's that fast. And here one more time. All right, let me actually show you the flap being opened and closed. So that's the black flap right there. Hope you guys can see that perfectly. Now watch. See? You see how fast that flap just closed and opened? I mean open and closed. Show one more time. So that is 1/800th of a second. Now, if I boost it up to 2000 or 4000, you won't really see a difference from 1/800, but you see the difference in the image. Let me show you what 1/4000 looks like. See, now you can't really tell the difference from 1/4000 to 1/800. That's why I say very rarely you see photographers shoot at such speed. At that speed, that speed is for when, let's say for example, you want to capture a car race. You know, if you're trying to capture a Ferrari, you know, Ferrari's very fast. You want to capture that speed, go to 1/4000 and you won't miss a single speed of that Ferrari. So if I bring this all the way down to, let's say, 1/25th of a second, now watch how slow that shutter closes. See, now that's a little bit slower. All right, now if I put it all the way down, let's go to, let's see, let's go to 1/4th of a second. See how slow that is again. See, that's like flap, flap. Slow that is. One more time. All right, so now if I go down to the extreme, let's see, I'm gonna go down to let's see, like 1 of a second. Let's see that. That's gonna open the shutter speed for about a second. The way I'm talking about. See, so it waits 1 second before it opens back up. 1 opens. So that's 1 of a second. Now, if you want to go to more extremes, let's go down to 15 of a second. See how extremely slow that's going to be. See that? That actually was 15 seconds. That was awkward silence, but so that goes to show you how slow that is. The camera waits 15 seconds before it captures the image. Now, for a shutter speed that slow, you need a tripod. It is mandatory that you have a tripod because you cannot shoot something that slow without having the camera steady, because the simple touch like that, your picture is going to be blurred. It's what photographers call camera shake. So mostly if you're shooting this slow, it's mandatory that you use a remote. Each DSLR, well, I don't know if all of them does, but DSLR has something called a remote that should plugs in. Mine plugs in right there. I don't know if you guys can see it. I know, but mine plugs in right there. And with that remote, you won't have to touch your your shutter button right here, because if you touch it sometimes you may shift the camera and you're gonna have camera shake. So what photographers do, you have the remote away from the camera's on a tripod, you hit the shutter on the remote, and then you won't have to worry about touching the camera, therefore your image won't have camera shake. So if you're shooting this slow, from anywhere from here, from 1/50th, I would say, go down, you need a tripod. You need a tripod. But you go into the hundreds, you don't really need a tripod. So I hope you guys understand. Hope you, the newcomers, this is mostly for new people that's looking into DSLR and photography. That is basically the simplest way to show you and explain to you what shutter speed is. So once again, the faster your shutter speed, the less light comes in, the faster you capture the image. So that's more for motion type images. The slower your shutter speed, the slower the shutter opens, the more or less motion you're trying to capture and more light comes in. So I hope this explains it to you guys. You know, if you have any more questions, be sure to comment below, like the video, comment, like I said before, and subscribe to the channel. I'll be doing more photography tutorials, and so stay tuned for that. Tuber tutorials. Peace out.